Step 1. Forget past mistakes that mean nothing now. This is key. And for those mistakes that do mean something now, remember, there's nothing ultimately foreign to fate. Step 2. Go for walks, speed walk. Run if you like, but build a tolerance. Do this for no less than 20 minutes a day, preferably in the morning when your energy is high. Step 3. Keep a journal and get to bed as early as possible. Sleep is important, but do not oversleep. Too much sleep is also important, but its importance rests in not doing it. This step is a commitment to something meaningless which will become important in a later step. Step 4. Sometimes you will get this feeling that there is no how to bear, and the why is an invention of lonely thoughts. Refrain from all thoughts that lead in this direction. But a moment before you do, think of this. With every person you will ever meet, there is a world that exists in which you do not. Step 5. When you do wake up early, repeat a meditation, something you learned early in life, maybe a prayer, a way in which you can tell yourself, today is not going to be like those days before you were able to wake up early. When practicing this meditation, whatever it may be sure not to remember that time you missed the bus on the way to that job interview that would have proven to your ex that you are capable of being responsible. These are past mistakes you should have forgotten after step 1. So don't think about that. Think about this. Step 6. When finishing this meditation and completing step 2, go on to a typical routine that will have you presentable for public places, say the local drugstore that is open 24 hours. But if it closed after the sun went down, the crime rate in the city would drop 10%. Remember, you could have been the one contributing to the 10% if you didn't start running every morning. If you never committed to something meaningless, you would wish you had. Now, if you do or don't may hold the same weight to those around you, but remember, it weighs just enough to float away before it weighs you down. But don't think about that. Step 7. Do not skip this step. Step 8. If you are following each step correctly, you will find the need for coffee less and less, and eventually replace that need with tea or water. This is a good decision, because at this point, you should be finding your morning walks to be longer, more energetic. It takes about 21 days of this morning routine before you find that your thoughts wander more and more while on these walks. After the 40th day, you will find that you will need to walk an extra mile just to come to terms with what it is you were thinking before starting on the trail that morning. Whatever you do not think about that time you hitched to Tofino. Not quite yet. Think about that one time, but before that, step 9. Think about that one time you hitched to Tofino with Casey, which ended with you two being arrested because the vehicle that decided to lend a hand was stolen. And then maybe you'll think, is Casey Emerson a real name? All names are real names. Even the made-up names are real names. But more than often, it is not memories that accompany you on these walks, but daydreams that would have never occurred if it weren't for keeping up with health magazines and manuals on how to live life. Never trust a step program, but don't think about that. One morning, while on one of these walks, one of your daydreams will be made up of a version of yourself that has the courage to talk to that particular person that you saw leave apartment 403 4 months ago, when you were fumbling around for your own keys that had vanished in a pocket full of the remaining change you acquired at the bottle depot for another bottle that would be committed to the same fate. This kind of thought is good. It keeps you focused on goals and gives you an inspiration for the next day to repeat the process. After another month of these walks and daydreams, you will notice your body reacting to the healthy exercise, and you will feel the encouragement to hit the gym. This is one of those things that induces confidence to help you feel more accepted in a society that tells you to do the things that you have recently found an appreciation for. The gym is good for posture, but most importantly, it keeps your mind away from those dangerous activities you only recently started calling dangerous activities. As you know from completing step 8, it is said that a routine can take up to 21 days before one is comfortable and it starts to feel natural. This is also good, as you will notice that smile you used to put on for an image you didn't care for in the first place will start to become as natural as the routine itself. This too is good for confidence, or at least you will hear this being said, which hearing it is actually what is good for confidence, not the actual motion. This smile will be traded with smiles given by strangers as they too understand this routine. Eventually, that stranger in apartment 403 will notice you for the first time, while, once again, you fumble for your keys. This time, lost in a nervous twitch you acquired on the morning walks for a glimpse of reality which would ultimately be committed to the same fate. However, this time, there's a mutual glance in your direction, and over the following 2 weeks, you will get to know this person that resides in apartment 403. They give you their real name, one made up by their parents in 1987. You find that this person has just enough in common with your own interests to keep things interesting, but also enough differences to keep things from getting predictable. As time moves on, the relationship will build, and as things go, it will even become mutually inclusive. This character change will be noticed by your employers, and in seeing your determination and self-respect, you will be promoted, which will include a raise in pay. Though it is not your dream job, it keeps you satisfied and affords you a life that others are not so lucky to live. Not on the day of promotion, but one day, while realizing the life obtained, you will browse through your books. The regular names of Austen and Twain, Wollstonecraft and de Beauvoir, and all those books philosophizing over nothingness. Do not touch those. Dickens is enough. Most nights, you will question if what you are doing is the right thing, more or less questioning what the right thing means, and what it means to think one knows what the right thing means, and if this means anything at all. You will remember what it is that brought you to follow such routines in the first place. You will remember the time before responsibility took center, when you thought you would be someone important, a time in which the only stress in life would be a deadline. Often a realization of what it means to move on and to forget all those moments that seem meaningless maybe really are something less than. Don't think about that, but remember, it weighs the same. Now, think about this. Do not think about all the things that may or may not be the things that contribute to the things you can't perceive. They may not exist without you in the first place to recognize them as things. Thinking such things are things at all are the only things that are. But these things come and go. But if they don't come, then don't worry, they won't go. But before you think of that time with Casey Emerson when you sat against a wall with orcas springing into painted life, and the ocean just below the hill where junkies traded patches for plastic caps of homemade glitter that sparkled only under rays of blood-stained counterfeit Levi's. You start to wonder why people question why there is something rather than nothing when they have been doing nothing from something this whole time. But don't think about that. Think about a time when you didn't have to think about a time. Not then or later. When things made sense because nothing needed to make sense. Back when Dickens was enough, and poetry was a special occasion. But don't think about that. Don't think about Casey, or whatever her real name may have been, or whatever she goes by now. Don't think about plastic green soldiers scattered on the kitchen tile on a Sunday morning while Chuck Jones hunts rabbits over the William Tell Overture. It is not that time to think if such things are things at all or if they are the only things that are. Don't think about that. Think about this. Step 10. Don't find time for anything. By the time you find it, it will have passed.